Good morning, Seth. How are you?
I'm well.
Thank you so much for coming over to the mill today.
Not a problem.
Really lovely.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, really lovely to have you here, and really excited to learn more about you, what it is that you do, and where you started in property. Could we maybe start from there?
Yeah, of course. Hopefully, there's some lessons or nuggets that from the challenges that we've had. Property for me was a good, I'd say 5.5 years ago now, probably 6 almost. Yeah, about 5.5 years ago. Came across a sourcing training event. Regrettably got sucked into, I want to say, not a very good mentor or an individual that was more so just selling a service and trying to do more mentoring rather than property himself. And then as that went on from there, it got to the stage of probably about 8 or 9 months of doing sourcing, but doing it very, very badly. The whole thing of find a deal and you'll always find an investor, or all those old strap lines, nonsense that
Make 100K
yeah, yeah,
first year.
just absolute nonsense. So I was working a job at the time. I was an accountant and just got to the stage where I was so desperate for some into property. I just seemed like the easy way to go about it. And then it all started off standard story, homes under the hammer, watching somebody make 60K when they've not done any of the work themselves. They've just got builders in and they just know how to position everything and get everything right. While I was earning 25 grand in a graduate job, it just sort of made me question a lot of choices and a lot of things. And I was like, I want to get there. I'm Pakistani by nature. In our culture, anyone that has, seems to be doing well for themselves has either dabbled or is in property. And I thought that was the key to wealth or key to building things. And little did I know that anyone that was doing well in property either had a successful business behind them or had a pot of cash that they can go in on, and how hard it would have been to go into this with very little savings, if not anything. So yeah, I had probably about 6 or 7 grand saved up at this point, and this training course was 6K, invested pretty much everything that I had, and it went wrong. Went wrong partly down to maybe me being a little bit naive to think that that's all I needed to know to do well, that little training course.
So was it that you weren't finding the projects?
I was finding stuff, but I just didn't have investors to tell them onto. And in hindsight, they were crap deals.
Right.
To put it very bluntly, it was on the premise that we would move on from there, and then basically decided then, right, sourcing's not for me. I'm going to go into rent to rent. Did that really badly for about 6 to 8 months and realized that that was more so just replacing a job with another job. And that wasn't the journey that I wanted to go down. And then I met a guy from my local neighborhood. I'm from Oldham, born and raised, and got to the point where he had amassed a multi-million-pound portfolio, and I was just flabbergasted at how somebody from little old Oldham done this from my neighborhood. So we ended up like meeting every few weeks, and the main purpose of us meeting was I was then going to source him a property for what he needed for his portfolio, and he was mentoring me on the side. There wasn't any official mentoring, but it suddenly became that. He saw a younger version of himself in myself, and we just got on really well. We were going through his projects, and he had one house that was coming up. It was 2 up, 2 down, a house in Oldham, right next to the hospital. I was like, this could be a HMO. You know that, right? I didn't know, but theoretically I knew
Yep.
what it took. This could be a HMO. He goes, what's HMO? He did his research, looked into it, realized that, you know what, this could work. He goes, do you fancy project managing it? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Just desperate to get some form of angle in. Of course I do. Went home, almost cried at the thought of what have I just said yes to.
Cried with fear rather than joy.
What we just said yes to.
Yeah.
No construction experience. My soft baby hands didn't know how to use a drill in any capacity. I was just an accountant that was stuck on a laptop and went from there. Then I regrettably, at the time, went and had a conversation with him and said, look, I don't think I could do this. This is game over. I'm going to mess this up. He goes, no, I'm confident. I'm going to be with you. Don't worry about it. Fast forward, project finished, went incredibly well. That project started on the day that my son was born.
Oh.
So the same day. And his birthday is always a little bit of a dual celebration for the start of the development journey. And then 3 years later, we've delivered 30 odd projects, ranging in size from really large ones to small 2-bedroom houses. And then in the last 2 years, I've done 18 projects for myself.
So is this a mix of flips and HMOs?
Flips, HMOs, houses.
Any commercial?
The one commercial to resi. that we've done for myself, but we've done tons for clients. We've got 3 on the go at the minute. It's been a hell of a journey.
So is that a bit of a turnkey solution for them?
Pretty much.
You'll
We've got a
see.
development business where I am now the biggest client of that development business. But when the lads have gaps in the diary, we then take on projects from people that we know. And these are people that will want to just buy a house, give me the keys, get given the house back or a project back once it's all done.
So it's just refurbed and
Exactly
good
that.
and
We've not really had to market that service, although in some scenarios I feel like, damn it, we should do. And really, to grow that avenue and to grow that offering, I think, that may come to a point of where we will get to that stage. But right now, I'm just trying to keep my mind and time occupied into actually just finding my own projects on my own site.
has being part of Prosperity helped?
Oh, massive.
We get lots of
Massively.
clients through there.
We've got a few, and I
Yeah.
think when we've marketed, when we did at the start, we got a good few. Haven't done anything with anyone from Prosperity for a while, and that's again down to just lack of marketing.
Need you back up on the stage.
Yeah, I know.
326 is your year.
Yeah, we'll do something there. So yeah, Prosperity's been great. Won an award there last year. So that was immense. Grown incredibly. For me, it's more been learning and being able to deliver what we needed to deliver. Went to an event almost 3 months ago now, the last mastermind day. And I just learned a small aspect of creative deal structuring there. And I'm on the verge of completing the biggest deal of my life.
Wow.
On the back of that. So whatever that cost is, I know I've made it back 1,000 times fold, purely on the basis of where we're going really. But it's been a key aspect of where the growth is, whether it's just the networking, meeting like-minded individuals on that wavelength and some really good pals that are doing some awesome things.
The quality of network as well, isn't it? You could go into that room and ask a question. If the person doesn't know, they'll point you to somebody else who does.
100%.
It's very supportive.
Like the Facebook group is
inclusive.
immense. I can't remember the last time I had a question that didn't get answered.
So see from following you on social media that you've got your fingers in different pies in a nice way. So how is it running multiple businesses?
The challenge with it is that this magical place of work-life balance that everyone always talks about, I think is a mythical thing unless you just relaxed your expectations in terms of goals to sit side by side with that.
I think we're told, aren't we, that you should have multiple revenue streams coming in, which obviously absolutely makes sense. But it's the actual process then behind it and not actually killing yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
Being bogged down with it and you should be focusing on the one thing which then could become 10 things and then it becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah. And so I've got a business coach, and one of the big lessons that we did was working out what my earnings per hour have been as a rule of thumb over the last 12 months.
Well, that can be quite shocking.
And it was scary. Like, the project management stuff was something like 13 to 14 pounds an hour. I was like, I wouldn't take a job for that. But it's the added opportunity that comes with it. So we did a project for a chap from Prosperity, a good friend of mine called Rob, delivered a commercial tourism scheme for him. And now we're looking at joint ventures together.
Amazing.
So yes, in reality, I shouldn't have done that from a time, but the relationship that we built where Rob knows that I can trust Seth from a development business. Seth's got my best interests at heart. I know what Rob is great at, and we're looking at stuff. So we purchased a plot of land together and we're going into planning to get 5 new build houses on it. And the game plan will either be to sell it with planning or to build it out and go from there. But that wouldn't have happened apart from that project management job. Then you flip it to the other aspect of how do you equate a earnings per hour for businesses that pay you so late? How do you put all that time and energy on that? And then ultimately the bills need to be paid at some point. So there's multifacets to it. There's the challenge in which you mention of multiple streams. And I think until you've experienced enough, you ultimately think that means multiple businesses, and it doesn't. Multiple investments, small areas that don't actually take much time but provide a return on investment. Me, myself, I'm investing in stocks and shares in a minor capacity, gold in a minor capacity, Bitcoin and Bitcoin only in a minor capacity. But those are just like little side investments that I know are going up in time. Then the property stuff, then the PM stuff. I mentor a couple of individuals in property as well. So when I look at it there's potentially 6 avenues there. And rather than getting bogged down and thinking I need 4 different businesses or this or that, there's a lot of value in having a cash cow that you've put all your time and energy on that allows all your other ventures to blossom. And yeah, there's been businesses where I've gone into and jumped out of due to the whole balance sort of matrix in terms of I know what is the king of my pie, and that king can never drop. And if you take something on knowing full well that you can't actually like replace it with the main king, it's not an easy decision actually. It's a very difficult decision. I've had my fair share of decisions like that lately, but yeah.
But sometimes you can't possibly know until you're in the thick of it either.
Exactly.
And it's better to have a go at something than not
Absolutely.
tried at all.
The amount that I've learned from the businesses that I'm not involved in today have spared so many things. I was part of a clothing brand. I've got my family businesses, gold jewelry, and been part of the fast food industry. These are all like notoriously cutthroat sectors. The amount that you can learn about how being agile makes you appreciate the property business so much. The aspect of being able to make money from not a lot of effort in some scenarios when good deals arrive. And then there's no other business like property in which case you have peers that are willing to give away all their secrets, knowing full well that there's enough business out there for us all. I've not seen that in any other industry apart from the property industry.
Most people want people to win.
For sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and give all of my secrets out to air. There's a give and take. And I've now got myself a nice little circle of people that I know I will help to the moon and back. And I know I'll get that same level of effort back.
If someone's coming into property now, for 2026, what would your advice be to them based on your own journey?
Focus
to
on
date?
flips and focus on trades. Trades in the sense of which this took a long bit of ego check for me to appreciate that this was the most sensible thing to do. I own a construction business. There's nothing that makes me happier than building things out because it keeps the business going. In some scenarios where you go back to that matrix of profit per hour or pay per hour, let's look at profit per month on a deal. And we bought a project in Oldham under a quick close, again using the network of prosperity, again using people that have introduced me. Like the guy that we use for all our funding was introduced by Greg.
Okay.
And we were on the phone today with this funder, and we've got a deal going through that we're completing on next week. We bought a project in Oldham for 100k. We did nothing to it. We were just quick, able to solve a problem, which was they needed this household in 3 weeks. We bought it in 2 weeks. Using the team that we had capital available, and we were able to go at this. And half an hour after I picked up the keys, I met an auction agent at the property, gave the keys over, didn't touch a single thing inside the house. He went around, took photos, did what he needed to do, and it sold 2 weeks later at the auction for 140.
Wow.
Cleared all the fees and everything. We probably cleared about 25 grand.
Nice.
And like, I would do that every day of the week if I could.
Yeah.
If I had those sort of deals, I'd be focusing on doing flips and trying to increase the pot of cash that you have and really just build on it from there. And then once you've got to that point, then you focus on income. Just accept that your wage would be a cost to the business and you need to make that first in profits, and then just focus on it from that. You are an employee of your own business and your business needs to make money. And the main way, either you are injecting a load of capital that you might have available today, or you're increasing that pot.
So you mentioned about your project with Rob, coming up with the land. Anything else exciting for 2026 and beyond?
We've got 2 deals actually that we're working on that could just be a game changer in terms of income, in terms of equity that we'll make. And that's primarily come from being able to adapt to how this market is.
So Seth, tell me what you've got lined up for 2026. I'm sure you've got lots of exciting things in the pipeline.
Yeah, we've got 2 really, really exciting deals right now. So on our plate at the minute, we've got 2 land deals. Well, both actually I'm doing with 2 different partners. One is in a nice sunny part of Oldham called Saddleworth. That one we have just achieved planning to extend an existing bungalow, but then also build a new one. And we're going to be listing that onto the market with planning to get that sold. And then as well as that, what we've got is a plot of land in Tameside that we're getting 5 dwellings on for. We're going to be submitting planning in the next week or 2. I'm working on 2 blocks of flats that we are structuring in a way where it works for us and works for the landlord in this type of market. The landlords are asking for too much and it's just not worth us even delving or playing with anything in that manner. But we structured them on the back of our learning from the network, learning from people that we know that are doing similar things in other areas and what they're doing to solve landlord problems and how we can implement that in our neighborhood. Working on that, and they will be game changers in terms of rent, end values, what we're looking to create out of them and to grow that pot. One of those blocks of flats, the landlord owns another 20 blocks in that area. area. So, well, I know I know what properties they own already. I want them to tell us what they're wanting to exit. But the only way that I feel that we can do that is if we get this deal over the line. And if we can get this deal over the line, then immense. And it can work, and it can work really well. But the challenge with it will be, how do we make this work? So yeah, 2026 is looking amazing. We had an offer accepted on Friday for another house as well that we are purchasing, and just a normal 2-bedroom house that we're going to be putting on rent. So it's incredibly exciting. I'm pumped. December, like I was planning on going away in December, and we've cancelled that purely on the basis that we've got 3 immense weeks to be able to just try and close as much as we can from a business perspective and really just hard on it. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Sounds amazing. So with all these properties, what are the main hurdles that you'll experience with planning? Is like a typical theme that crops up?
Having a crap architect.
Okay. Has that
So
been you in the past?
yes and no. I like to think I'm a good judge of risk and knowing when we're being too ballsy on a project. Whereas in some scenarios, you see some schemes and you think, no wonder it got rejected. Like, what are you doing, or what are you expecting? I've got a great architect and a great planning consultant that we work together with. We bring planning consultant on to complement our architect on our more trickier sites, such as these plots of land.
Yep.
One of the plots of land we did just with our architect, and I went, well, we've got planning on that. Another one we've got planning on an office block to 14 flats about 9 months ago, which we're umming and ahhing about whether we develop or not. So I think understanding the local strategy, what has been accepted, are there other examples of what you want to achieve in the area, is like my first check. And if there is, then yeah, we'll pursue it and then get the advice of everyone for that specific property as to what we can do and what we can't do. And we'll go from there.
Has there ever been an occasion where, weird thing to say, but over-invested in a property?
Yeah, we have. We have done for sure. We did a 2-bedroom house that we were all into for 160 grand. It's worth 180 all day long. But then it got down valued to 160. When we refinanced, we've left about 40 to 45 grand in the deal. And that's a hell of a lot of money to leave there. But it doesn't make sense to just sell that asset. These things happen, and it's one of the perks of the game, and the risk of the game is the end valuation. And we got hit with 2 things. One was an end valuation, and then the other aspect was a overcost on the project. And the reason that was we just found a ton of structural problems. So we spent an extra 15 grand than we thought. But when you're in the thick of it, these are risks that just happen, and stuff that you've just got to take on.
Suck it up.
It's really hard.
So social media is obviously a massive part of everybody's lives now. How are you harnessing it for your business? What are you doing? What's working?
The interesting thing has been, I want to say I've been quite consistent on Instagram primarily, or the meta world with Facebook. Facebook I don't really give any time on unless it was going on to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Instagram I've been really, really hot on. It's probably where I'm most active, even today.
Yeah, ditto.
The interesting experience has been the change of the type of content that works. So when I first started, long form video was really prominent. You had IGTV, all of that was all cool. And then suddenly out popped Reels. Then the TikTok world kicked off of short form content. And the real challenge now that I find is that we generally don't have an attention span of longer than 3-4 seconds on anything that comes about.
You have to almost make a full-blown Hollywood production, don't you?
Yeah.
It's almost expected as well.
What I found that's worked for me is that Instagram does really well with nice, clean images, and TikTok does really well with rough, raw, behind the scenes style of content of me holding my phone, walking around. Does quite well there. The silent horse for me that I've only really put attention on in the last 3 months properly is LinkedIn.
And you're going to say that.
And it has done wonders
Wow.
for my network.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I'm a very visual person, and I always consider LinkedIn to be really archy-starchy.
It is.
People blowing their own trumpet.
You look through the world of ChatGPT posts that everyone is making, and you can see all the tell signs. You can see all the bots that are commenting. You look past that. There's some awesome organic conversations that can happen from there. Naturally, being busy, having lots on is what people find interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would struggle if I only had one project on at a time, to be very honest. I always revert back to projects that I've done really well and just showcase it in as ballsy. I made 33 grand from this house and I only owned the property for 4 weeks. That will do incredibly well as
It's
it was.
amazing hook, isn't it?
Now, the thing that does well for me on LinkedIn is informative value, is long form text. I find does incredibly well for me.
People like the detail, I think, don't they, on
Of course,
LinkedIn?
absolutely.
They don't want the flashy top line. It's like, give me the details. How did you actually do this?
About 3 months ago, I was all about views. I was all about likes and followers and all the vanity metrics that you can get. And now I just focus on how many messages am I getting that are the type of business I want. How many people are inquiring about wanting me as a mentor? How many people are inquiring about wanting to have a chat about some investment? And it's crazy what direct, confident language can do to extract that level of thought back out. And I think the really cool thing with social media is that you can definitely grow a business on the back of it, and no one wants to be a guinea pig. So if you can show substantive form of I am doing, Miranda has invested with me and this is what Miranda thinks, suddenly someone's going to think that, oh, you know what, he's actually doing it.
Yeah.
You know, versus me just constantly rambling on about invest your cash in me or do this or do that or do that. I might be looking at that status and thinking, ain't no chance Seth's going to be getting people to invest with him from social. Why the hell's he posted? But if I then put a post out to say, here's a screenshot of my bank statement of me sending out 3 payments for monthly returns to my investors, people think, oh damn, like there's something happening here.
Yeah. And always the crude posts, aren't they?
Yeah.
To a degree, when people do the screenshots and the highlight, but God, they work.
They
All from the pudding, video testimonials.
For sure, they work. And I think the real challenge now for that is keeping momentum and being consistent. Consistency isn't 2 times a day, 1 time a day. I think a good high quality 4-5 posts a week, what my like little barometer is.
Yeah. I always say to people when they're starting out, because they say, you know, how often should I be posting? It's exactly what you say. Don't get overwhelmed with it though. Don't think I have to post every single day. I think as a starting point, as a benchmark, 3 times a week.
Absolutely.
Just spend your Sunday morning, just a couple of hours. What am I going to post on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday,
Exactly.
or whatever it is? You know, so you're not waking up in a fettle going, "Oh my God, oh, I'm meant to post today," and then you end up posting something which isn't quality content.
100%.
It's not going to engage, and you've just wasted your time.
100%. It's really interesting. But yeah, I do all my social media myself. I've tried it, given it to other people. And what works really well in that sense is when I've got a direct service to sell, is where it's been incredibly well. Whereas in my side now, it's getting to the point of it's really hard for me to showcase through the eyes of someone else what it is like to be me.
People need the authenticity. That's the biggest thing of all.
And then the only aspect that I've ever done in the past, which was when we were all full blown on the PM side and we had that service to sell as a building contractor. And again, yeah, it's an area that we'll probably look at, but all of the LinkedIn stuff, I'm doing that myself. And if we are getting somebody in, it's probably more so from a media perspective rather than actual content, someone to film for us, someone to do the editing for us and that sort of stuff. But I'm very much so glued to the space of knowing what it is that we want to put across. And yeah, I think there's incredible opportunity and stuff like this. Like you've done an incredible job to sort of have this studio set up.
Thank you. Long time coming.
I think podcasts are a very good and quick way to showcase yourself and have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, and they build authority as well.
Sure.
People get to listen to you in the bath or
Absolutely.
on the way in the car or on the way to work.
Absolutely.
Because someone's in your ears as well. It feels like you know them. It's more personal.
Exactly. Social media has been powerful.
So have you found a difference in the type of people who you connect with on Instagram to LinkedIn? Is it just
Massively.
just completely different profiles?
Yeah. Someone on LinkedIn will probably want their communication via email. Someone on Instagram is happy for WhatsApp deals.
It's amazing, isn't it, the difference?
It's totally different. I do everything through WhatsApp. I very rarely do things through email.
Everything gets lost nowadays, doesn't it?
Exactly.
DMs, this, that, and the other.
It just shows a nice, humble way of this is what we want, how we want to do business. There isn't a fancy facade of doing things professionally. I'm straight up, we've got business to do, and we're looking for funding partners that want to join the journey.
Have you got many private investors through social media?
I probably raised best part of 1 to 1.5 mil.
Nice.
Through social, or people that I don't know. Well, I do know now, but didn't know.
And again, it's the know, like, and trust, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They see you showing up, and even if it's something really basic like doing a viewing or...
My biggest investor followed me for 4.5 years. I didn't know they were following me. They never commented. Didn't know they were liking. And now we're almost busy mates.
That is the thing, isn't it? We're all voyeurs, bloody watching, and
4 years of
wow.
of to find that person. So you just never know who's watching. They might not be liking, but they're watching. So
what's your message then to people with social media if they're thinking I can't be bothered?
gotta do it. You've gotta put something, even if it's just a picture of you with the kids outside a project, even if it's just you taking a picture of, bought this new house and here are the keys, whatever it might be, document the journey. I love it because I can go back now and I look at my stuff from like 3 years ago and I think, what the hell? But it's humbling to know where I am now to where I was.
And people can see the growth as well.
Absolutely. And I think that the self-documentation aspect for me was the only way that I sold it to myself of I'll look back at this and think, yeah, what a ride, what a journey it's
I'm
been.
proud.
You know what I mean? So, and really just push on from there.
So last question for you, Seth. If you weren't in property now, what do you think you'd be doing?
I'd probably be some finance director somewhere.
So just
doing the
when pushing.
doing the old boring stuff. But I quite enjoyed that world. I was at Enterprise, a car rental firm, straight after graduating. Absolutely love that. I think that place is what gave me the work ethic that I've got today, because it's an incredibly tough, slightly toxic, but tough environment. And it's a sink or swim environment, and sinking was never an option. So that got to a point whereby we hit a promotion stop where there were no local opportunities in the accounting side. And for me to go and progress within that career, I would have had to have moved away from home. Pakistani culture, eldest son, not typically the easiest decision to move away from home when generally the responsibility of the household is going to be coming up to your lap very soon. So I didn't. And if it wasn't for that decision, then I don't think property would have ever existed.
Wow.
Because that was an incredibly busy environment. I only developed that when I moved to my next job and the job after that, which were like a walk in the park compared to Enterprise, where I had free time to then soak in this extra content to understand what the world was like outside of just working for someone.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very, very, very humble on all of the life decisions and the challenges and the issues. They've all happened for a reason.
It makes us the people we are, doesn't it?
Everything happens for the best.
Totally agree.
And as a Muslim, that there's one thing that I've always got in me is that whatever we do from here on has already been written for us. Destiny is really true. It was always written that I would meet yourself here today and we would have this conversation. And when the bad times happen, it's a very easy way to accept whatever happening is that it was written. And the other little nugget from the religion is that God will only give you what you can handle. He will never give you something that you can't handle. And if you seem like you can't handle something, that little experience of not being able to handle it is what brings you back into gear and sends you down a path that God wants you to send you down. So
we're all still here to tell the tale, aren't we? Which is proof of that.
Absolutely. So could do this all over again, this whole journey, if I had to, because it was always meant to be.
I love that.
So yeah.
Thank you so much for coming into it. I just love getting to know you as well.
No,
it's just really, really lovely.
No, thank you very much for the invite, and hopefully we'll catch you again soon.
It's on the next one.
I know.